Daniel Jones not working out for the New York Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's unfair because it is a preseason game, but what he put on display yesterday in throwing the pick six and another bad interception, not necessarily the momentum that Giants fans wanted to end the season in a make-or-break season for Daniel Jones that we saw on full display in the Hard Knocks off-season version. Again, I wasn't going to watch it first, and I watched 10 minutes, and I was hooked entirely, and it's the best Hard Knocks I've seen. But Daniel Jones not getting it done yesterday, you not necessarily surprised.
Yeah, no, I called this at the beginning, before the season started last season. I was having a conversation with another Fox employee, and I was on his podcast or something, and I brought up, I was like, yeah, everybody's so into the Daniel Jones thing. He played well. They made it to the playoffs. He had some pretty good throws during that season, and some, more than not, he was able to extend plays and make plays with his feet, and so it looked pretty, and it was, they were a surprise, and he was becoming the darling, got paid. But I remember seeing him, and I'm watching him play in the complete games, and I was like, this guy really isn't as good as he's being touted to be. And it's just, that was my own personal opinion. But he brought up the whole Zach Wilson thing last year when all that was going on, when he was stepping into, Aaron Rodgers being hurt, and he was going to be the guy. And I made the comparison that, when I look at Zach Wilson and Daniel Jones isn't a better quarterback than Zach Wilson. I mean, he doesn't, nothing about what he does is a big improvement of what Zach Wilson can do. And so I was like, you guys are going to be in for a rude awakening. Daniel Jones isn't that good. And so he's been living up to that in this past season. And then you see this on tape in a preseason game. It doesn't bode well for the Giants at all.
It's funny because when you say that, by no means do I think it's a compliment to Zach Wilson.
No, of course.
And it's quite the criticism of Daniel Jones, who I think has had a unique career in the NFL. Really, when he burst onto the scene, it was, I believe, the third game of the season. They played a wacky game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Saquon had a good game in that contest, but by and large that season, it wasn't super great for Daniel Jones. But so the Giants obviously have a decision to make with him after his third season and what to do with his fifth-year option. They make the easy decision to not exercise it. Mm-hmm. And then Daniel Jones comes out and has statistically the best year of his career, which did include 700 yards rushing.
Yes.
But you're not a believer necessarily in that 700 yards from what I'm hearing, because his passing numbers are not going to blow you off the map when it comes to looking at what he did in the air. It was the multifaceted portion of Jones's game that I think got him that contract, but you didn't even think that was that dangerous.
Yeah, I thought it was what was needed for them, and I also think it was a surprise too. I don't think defenders knew knew that he could actually run and make plays and get down the field and be a threat, because I didn't know that part about his game either. And so when you get kind of taken aback by something at the beginning, that's cool, but then defenses catch up to you, right? And you have to elevate your game, right? Lamar Jackson, when he first came to the game, we knew he could run, so he did that really well. Defenses started to stop that, and he also had to take care of himself. He developed better as a passer. I don't see that in Daniel Jones, and so I don't think the running will be a factor as much as it was before.
It's funny when we talk about contracts. Jerry Jones, obviously, the infamous for the all-in line that he had earlier this offseason, and now when you're looking at Dak Prescott not getting a deal and entering free agency next year, and CeeDee Lamb holding out, we have a lot of focus there. But if you look at where the Giants were in that moment, I can't blame Joe Shane and the Giants entirely for making that move. And I do think Hard Knocks plays a bit into this as well when we watch what Daniel Jones did yesterday, because we know that the Giants considered moving off of Daniel Jones. Mm-hmm. We had saw it with our own eyes and heard it with our own ears in a draft day call to the Patriots, just to see in the conversations that they aired during that program. And I think the biggest takeaway from that Hard Knocks program was man, how is Daniel Jones going to survive this season when the Giants seemingly had such little confidence in him? They're like, well, let's get him a weapon. Let's get him Malik Neighbors and see how he ends up performing. Let's call the Patriots and see if we can maybe move up and get a quarterback if we need. Like, all of those things are, Daniel Jones has got to be sitting there. Wait a second. Maybe you'd be happy about the Malik Neighbors thing, but I think it also adds more pressure on him. But I just don't think where the Giants were at that point, it actually made sense to give him that contract. You're choosing the quarterback over the running back 10 times out of 10 in the National Football League. Mm-hmm. I just think that you are. And if you can make it work with Daniel Jones, who has maybe not the exact, hear me out on this.
Yeah.
You see what Josh Allen did in Buffalo. Mm-hmm. And I know Daniel Jones is not Josh Allen, but you saw how Josh Allen was able to thrive with Brian Daboll.
Yes.
You have the confidence that maybe Daboll can bring and maximize Daniel Jones. And at the $40 million a year mark, where here we are on August 18th, 2024, if you look at that average annual salary in the NFL, it ranks tied for 14th. So he's not like a top 5 paid quarterback at this time. When he got the contract, different story.
Yes.
But still, it was only, and I'm using air quotes, $40 million a year. And when you had Saquon's injury history, and we talk about the shelf life of running backs in the NFL, Motzi just talked about it 20 minutes ago, and according to Motzi, in how we view at running backs, I don't think that the Giants made an awful decision. I think they made an educated decision that has not worked out for them.
Oh, yeah, I don't think it's a right or wrong decision either. Between the two, I think it's a wrong decision in choosing that quarterback to think that he's going to be the franchise of your team. I do believe I think that's a wrong decision. Now, choosing where you're going to divvy your money to or give your money to, or between those two players, it's pretty much a toss-up. If you need one of them, and like you said, they're probably going to go quarterback first. And with Saquon's injury history, it makes sense. But again, there's nothing about watching him, even when minus that 1 year they made the playoffs, who is Daniel Jones? Daniel Jones is a below-average quarterback, and so you're giving that money to a guy that historically, where is he going to go up from there? It doesn't look like much. It doesn't look like he's going to improve much from there.
And I try to reverse it, and I try to look at it and say, let's say the Giants committed to Saquon Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then what? Tyrod Taylor, now you're starting quarterback? Like, are you?
They would be better with Tyrod right now.
They,
I'm telling you, they will. They would.
They would be better, but I don't know if they'd be good.
Mm.
And that's the difference of, and I use him because Taylor filled in last year when Jones was out. Mm-hmm. I don't think that, and I think that's where the Giants are of like, okay, we can pay Saquon, and if he stays healthy and if he doesn't break down, then what do we have around him offensively? And it wouldn't be that much. And it's, again, the criticism then is, what do the Giants put around Saquon Barkley? They don't have anything around him. You don't have a quarterback. You don't have this. You don't have that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was the Giants trying to decide on where to go. And I just think that you side with the quarterback every time. And it's not that Daniel Jones showed everything. In that make-or-break season, he had 15 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, so he didn't turn the ball over, but 700 yards on the ground, and then he follows it up last year by playing in just 6 games and, TD to INT ratio of 1 to 3, which is not good. That is not good at all, folks. No. But hindsight is 20/20. I think they made the right decision at the right time. It's just that Daniel Jones did not develop into a quarterback,
right?
And into the quarterback that they thought they would. The good news for them is that they can get out of it after this year, and then they can move on, which is likely what they're going to do. Whether Daboll and Joe Shane are still there is a different question, because we saw in full authority, again, with everything that we saw in HBO's Hard Knocks, John Mara's coming in and saying, like, well, Saquon's our most popular player. I would sure hate to lose him. I don't know if I could sleep if he goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, and then the whole thing plays out and he's not on the Giants and he's a Philadelphia Eagle, and you're stuck with Daniel Jones and he throws 2 picks in his first preseason game. I know, like, you wouldn't be happy, but they can at least get out of it and try to start anew from that point. It's just that last year was so bad, after the surprising playoff run the year prior, that this now just seems like a really, really bad hangover because it reminds you of what the first 3 years of Daniel Jones were. In that fourth magical year that I use in air quotes because it wasn't really magical, but it was his best year, that one seems like a distant memory.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, somebody has to get paid. Not knocking Daniel for getting his payday and having some success in that 1 year because he did. But other than that, he's just been a pedestrian player. And then to see where he is now, I don't think it's going to last past this year.
I don't expect a lot from the Giants this year, but I will say that with that defensive line of now you've added Brian Burns, you got Kayvon Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence, many people feel is one of the best, if not the best at his position. That's how the Giants won their Super Bowls. And I'm not saying that they're going to the Super Bowl, but I'm just saying, like, if they're going to win, it's because of that defensive front, and it's going to be up to Daniel Jones to not screw it up.
And I'm a Dayball fan, too, so I like Brian. I've known Brian for a long time. To see where he is now, head coach, I do know he can. If anybody can get something out of Daniel Jones, it will be him. So we'll see.